She said, the deaths of those 500,000 children have been worth it. The anger and the rage was boiling. This cauldron of rage was bubbling over. They had the no-fly zones where they were indiscriminately dropping bombs and missiles in Iraq, which had not been approved by the Congress, which had not been approved by the UN. A 13-year-old kid was one of the victims. He was tending his sheep. His head got blown off by an Iran missile. And if that wasn't enough to poke these hornets' nests and produce a result, they also had the stationing of troops among the most holiest of lands among the Muslims, Mecca and Medina. They just stationed American troops right in those lands. People that are considered infidels, here, take this. Because you see, they hadn't learned what every Texas school kid learns, that when you poke hornets' nests, hornets tend to attack back. And if you leave those hornets' nests alone, they'll leave you alone. And so then come the attacks on 9/11. It's, we don't understand this. They hate us for our freedom and values, and they use that as the excuse to go into Iraq and accomplish what they had not been able to accomplish with the sanctions. Notice, Iraq was not part of the 9/11 attacks. They never threatened to attack the United States. The United States is the total aggressor power in this conflict. But they used the 9/11 attacks to frighten people into supporting what their sanctions had not been able to achieve. The ouster of Saddam Hussein from power. And now they got themselves in and over their heads. They're trapped. There's no way out of this thing. They cannot exit because Bush cannot give up his legacy. He cannot go down in history as a president who started a war and then cut and run from a war. He's trapped. He has to keep those troops there, even though he's installed a radical Islamic regime that has aligned itself with Iran, of all the perversions of this stuff. But you see, the mindset is the same. We can fix it. We can intervene. Turn power over to us. And notice, now when you add up Iraq, foreign policy, this empire building with socialism at home, you've got out-of-control federal spending, which means out-of-control taxation. Not direct taxation, but the inflation tax. Now, you've seen some cratering of the dollar recently. You've seen prices of commodities starting to rise. You've seen it at the grocery store. And we said this was going to happen at the Future of Freedom Foundation. You're going to see prices rising because they're too scared to raise taxes directly. They got to do it through inflation. They got to print the money to pay for all this junk. But I got a hunch, I'm no great predictor, but I got a hunch you're going to see a dollar cratering the likes of which no one can imagine. Because you can't spend this kind of money indiscriminately without it finally coming down heavy on a society. And this is what has always happened to empires. Remember when conservatives used to brag about how they brought down the Soviet Union? Remember what they used to say? We made them spend their way into bankruptcy. Whoa, what about now? They're not talking like that anymore because they know deep down it's exactly what's happening in this country. You got socialism and interventionism overseas. You got socialism and interventionism here. But there's a way out of all this. Now, to those that say no, we're going to have our empire overseas, we're going to have our intervention, we're going to have our socialism, we're going to have our drug war, we're going to have our government schools, we're going to have farm subsidies, we're going to have welfare. Great. But I'm here to tell you that you're going to continue suffering the headache. You're going to continue suffering the crises. There's a way out of this. It deals with founding principles. John Quincy Adams told the Congress in 1821, he said, "This is a nation that does not go abroad in search of monsters to destroy." He says, America will not go abroad with bombs and missiles and soldiers to save you. There's tyranny, there's dictatorships, there's a lot of monsters, economic oppression. But if you want to get out, if you're escaped from this, always know that there's a country you can come to. Even if every other country rejects you and sends you back, this is one country that'll accept. We won't come and bomb you to save you, but if you get out, here's the place. And we're going to use this as the model society of freedom. We're going to build this into the greatest free society that has ever existed. And they enshrined in this concept civil liberties, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, the Eighth Amendment, amendments that are now under direct assault as a result of the war on terror. Not just the spying, not just the signing statements where Bush says, I don't have to comply with orders of Congress because I wield omnipotent commander-in-chief powers like Santa Anna or Napoleon. You've got the biggest direct assault with this enemy combatant doctrine, where the military now claims the power to seize any American, and simply by labeling him an enemy combatant, put him in a brig, torture him, and hold him for the rest of his life. And up to 2 or 3 weeks ago, when the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, in a 3-judge panel, 2-1, struck that power down, that was the law of the land. And it's not clear exactly where it's going to end up because the government is fighting hard to maintain this enemy combatant doctrine. Again, that kind of power, direct power, that is always inherent to dictatorships. It doesn't matter how much property rights you have here, how much freedom, how much no zoning you have here. It's all irrelevant if the military in this country has the power to seize any person, take him, put him in a camp, torture him, and hold him there forever, and possibly extrajudicially execute him. The founding principles of this country provide the medicine. They provide the solution to getting out of this morass, this endless series of crises, chaos. The principles of individual liberty, free markets, limited government, a republic, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration. Herein lies the treatment. Out of chaos comes opportunity. We have the opportunity in our lifetime right now to take these principles, individual liberty, free markets, limited government, and apply them to the real world chaos and problems that face our country. And in the process, lead the world to the greatest reaches of freedom, building on those founding principles, the greatest reaches of freedom that mankind has ever seen. If we do that, what greater gift to bequeath to ourselves, to our children, and to those coming after us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Are we out of time?
No, we have some time for some questions. I'll take one from Grayson and then one from Ronnie.